Hello, guys. Welcome back to Sport Intellect Live, and we are here to talk about like different sports matters. And so let's start off with it. And I'm here with Abel. So how have you been, Abel?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Sankey, of course, a lot has happened in sports over the last 1 week. A lot of turning points, some historical achievements. And if we talk about football, great transfer window for a lot of teams, a great deadline day, a very gripping deadline day. And if we talk about controversy, some of the youngsters, one of the youngsters got into deep controversy when it comes to football. So a lot has happened. So this today's podcast and live will be dealing with that. Great to have you and great to join with you today.
Yeah. So let's start off with it, and let's talk about Rafael Nadal with his
Yeah.
Grand Slam. So Rafael Nadal on winning his 21st Grand Slam. So on some initial thoughts on that, you would like to.
See, Rafael Nadal has always been that poster boy for tennis over the last 2 decades, especially over the last decade. It has been the rivalry alongside Federer, and to achieve something and to go past Federer's 20 Grand Slams takes a lot, and it speaks a lot of volumes about what he's achieved. And if you look at the way in which he approached this tournament, he was out of contention. If you look at the last 6 months, he underwent a surgery, then he was affected by COVID. Nobody knew that he would even come to the Australian Open and he would take part in it, but he he went against all the odds and he won the Australian Open final. And it was a tough one. Danny, Medvedev was a terrific player. He was absolutely on top of his game. If you look at the skill level which Danny Medvedev showed in that final, being 2 sets up and from there to win the final, it was nothing short of great. And he is truly one of the greatest of all time. And I believe he is the greatest of all time. I'll be a little biased. I'm a huge Rafael Nadal fan. And for me, I would like to believe so that he's achieved something uh, you know, which is very historical in nature. Just looking at the odds which he has broken, and look at the way how he has come to this tournament, the resilience which he showed in that final. Altogether, it was a top class performance, and it was worth it. And people might come out saying that he has won most of his slams on the clay court, but look, French Open is a Grand Slam, Australian Open is a Grand Slam, Wimbledon, US Open. These are the four major Grand Slams, right? So whether you win in Wimbledon or in the grass or in the clay or in the hard court doesn't matter. Grand Slam is a Grand Slam at the end of the day. So there is no such thing called as World Cup for tennis right now. So whatever you win in the Grand Slam, it is counted. So for me, he's right now the greatest of all time, and the record also speaks for itself.
Yep, and let's talk about how impressed were you with Rafa's energy, maintaining it to the fifth set.
Yeah, I know. Let me tell you, when Rafa was 2 sets down in that initial, in the two first two sets, I totally felt it was totally Danny Medvedev's game because, firstly, considering Danny Medvedev's age, he's just 25 and Rafa's 35, and look at the weather in Australia. It was its peak summer over there, and looking at the condition through which Rafa had to go through, his mental fatigue, everything could come up when you're a 35-year-old player, and younger legs of Medvedev is what you will give advantage. So even the pundits, even the commentators, everybody were of the opinion that the third set is where Medvedev would totally clinch it. But then Rafa came out, and Rafa came out pretty strong. And to win 3 sets in a row and to win that game, it just speaks volume of the resilience. It just speaks how much of a self belief he had in himself, and it just showed experience do come to the fore. Because when you talk about high intensity finals, who keeps the nerves better? At one point of stage after the second set, Danny Medvedev quite lost it. He was going against the crowd as well. We saw that even in that semi-final when he came against Tsitsipas. He lost it against a referee. He's got that temper issue if we talk about Danny Medvedev. But then at this time, entire crowd was against Danny Medvedev as well. It was complete Rafa fans out there in Melbourne, and he was going against it. So he was sarcastically clapping, etc. So at one stage you would feel that a player, he's a youngster, though he won the US Open, but it's still that growing stage, right? So the experience came into the fore. Rafa made the most out of it. And also what I noticed was Danny Medvedev was still that bit tired going into that fourth or fifth set. I don't know what happened to him physically. I don't know if he was carrying an injury, slight niggle out there. But then, yeah, Rafa made the most out of it. And there were a lot of drop balls which were played, by Danny Medvedev. I know it made me wonder why was that, especially in hard courts when you're playing drop balls, the bounce tends to be better, and you won't get it. That's where Rafa also made the most out of it. And some of the great rallies were played by Rafa through that fifth set and also the fourth set, and that's why he finally clinched that 21st.
Yep. And now let's move to another sport. It's football. So we're gonna talk about a really interesting transfer, which is to Prison FC. It's Mason Greenwood. How how big of an issue is that, and how big
I
blow is
don't
it to
know
his team?
why are we, should we make fun of this? But when you brought that Prison FC thing, it made me really laugh because I don't know what to answer about this Prison FC remark, but definitely is a new member into that not non-elite squad. Now he'll be along. Benjamin Mendy got released, so he's coming along as well. But for me, that is what I'll give my remark on Prison FC. You can ask further questions if you have on the same issue.
How big of a blow is it to Mason's career? Actually, he's a young guy and has a lot of steps to go forward. And how big of a blow is it actually? Because his career, I guess, it looks done right now with all these allegations and with
Yeah,
everything. Everything is going against him, and
yeah.
it looks done actually to me.
This could be a career-ending news for him as well because the way in which the things have progressed, the evidence which has surfaced, everything looks against him. And all due respect to whatever has happened to him, and I totally felt that now with social media as well, this couldn't have, he couldn't have escaped any bit. If you're talking about an era where there was no social media, this probably wouldn't even have surfaced. But now with the era of social media, news spreads in no time, and that's exactly what happened. And if I have to put light on what he did, it was it was totally disgusting to even for any footballer or for any human being to do. I'm not even talking about football over here. For any human being, what he has done, he looks like a serial offender over here. The kind of domestic abuse he has in he has put on his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, the kind of suffering he put her through, it's just so animalistic. The way in which he was, if you've heard the recordings as well, it just sounds so absurd. It was so animalistic. I'm losing words right now because if you watch it, it's so it's so disturbing for any human being to even watch those images, those recordings, to hear those recordings. It was so altogether what he did is totally wrong on the face of it. It just looks like a clear prima facie case of sexual abuse, and also you could say was a rape because non-consensual sexual intercourse was something which is even talked about over here. Now he's charged for rape as well. So there's investigation going on for rape. So if you look at UK laws, they're pretty stringent on rape laws as well. So altogether, this looks like a huge downhill journey for Mason Greenwood, and I would say the entire football community would be affected, especially his teammates, because when you're saying that your teammate, your best mate in your team, is undergoing such a thing, and especially Manchester United, they're just recovering out of a lot of turmoil within the dressing room and also within the club at large. So you don't want another controversy, and now that he's been charged in the Sexual Offences Act of 2002, where he's been investigated for alleged rape, you know, it looks not good for him at all because especially the voice recording which surfaced said that, which gave indications as to there was a non-consensual or forceful sexual intercourse which Mason Greenwood was trying to have with his partner. And as per the UK law, he could go under a life imprisonment if he's charged of rape as well. So that means a career-ending blow for Mason Greenwood. Now you saw that EA Sports have come out and suspended his FIFA 22 card, and he has been suspended from FIFA 22. Nike has suspended his sponsorship. United has suspended him and may probably terminate his contract if things go bad for him. So uh, altogether, it doesn't look great for him at all. And yeah, if someone has to talk about Prison FC, maybe he's a new member into it, and on the lighter side of things. But if you look at something seriously, no, it'll be a downhill journey for Mason Greenwood and also for his teammates as well because they'll also be impacted by this particular act of Mason Greenwood. And now it's a larger debate, I would say, about privileged society and non-privileged society and how he is actually probably making use of the privilege he's got. So that's somewhere we don't have to delve into right now. And I believe that if everybody's innocent until proven guilty, right? So let's give that small bit of light for Mason Greenwood, but as evidence and prima facie things suggest, he will be in prison for a long time, and this could be a huge blow in his career, and it is totally disturbing.
Yeah, and let's talk about how will it affect Manchester United and should they actually terminate his contract? Because you've seen Nike suspend their deal with Mason Greenwood, and actually even Manchester United have suspended their contract actually with Mason
Mm.
Greenwood until further notice. So actually,
Yeah.
should they terminate his contract if everything is against him?
Yeah, probably. If he's proven guilty, of course, they will have no option other than to terminate him because it affects the brand, it affects the image of the club. Ultimately, Glazers and everybody looks into the image of the club, right? You don't want to keep a serial offender in your team, so that's something which it sends out wrong messages even to youngsters and to all sect of the society, even to the fans as well. Even right now, the fans are demanding his termination more than anybody else. So that totally affects their stock market. If you look at Manchester United, the brand, they're part of the stock market in US as well. So if you're talking about such a huge brand, like Glazers owning the club, he will take a tough decision on Mason Greenwood, and he'll probably be on his way out. And if you look at Inter Milan, for example, they terminated their contract with Christian Eriksen, who was out due to medical issue. They thought they would probably have uh, no career or no future with Christian Eriksen in the future. So they just terminated him. So we have seen this in football that teams do go on to terminate their contract with the player because of indecent behavior due to different circumstances. And over here, it's a clear case of serial offending, a clear case of sexual assault which he has inflicted on his partner. So if he's proven guilty, of course they will terminate his contract, and there should not be any doubt about it at all.
Yeah, and now let's move on to a few transfer news that transfers which have happened on deadline day and on the transfers like on these days. And let's talk about Everton, which has actually bagged a few players, actually Donny van de Beek and Dele Alli. How good is it actually for Everton, or how bad can it be, and how good can it be?
See, if you look at the current position where Everton is placed, anything what they get will be bonus. And now Frank Lampard is in charge of Everton, and that's going to be huge for Everton. If you look at the way how they have been performing in this season, and two good players, especially Donny van der Beek, both of them haven't got the game time they would have liked to in this season, especially under Conte. Dele Alli wasn't in his plans, and if you look at Donny van der Beek, he wasn't in the plans of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or under Ralph Ragnick. So it's going to be a huge boon for both of these players if you look at their career perspective. I don't know how much they can contribute into the team. Both are good midfielders if you look the kind of versatility both holds for the team. If I have to talk about Donny van de Beek in Ajax, he was a good holding midfielder for them. He could play the number 6, he could play the number 8. So it'll be interesting to see how Everton uses Donny van de Beek. And I'm sure that Lampard will definitely have a plan for Donny van de Beek and also for Dele Alli. And Lampard really likes these kind of versatile midfielders. If you look at Mason Mount was one of his favorite players as well. If you look in his Chelsea series, so that's going to be something interesting. How Lampard is going to deploy someone like Dele Alli. Is he going to use him in a number 10 space, or if he's going to use him in a more of a holding space, where if he's going to play like a number 8, carry the ball forward, which I believe Dele Alli is good at. And when you see the best of Dele Alli, has always been able to carry the ball forward and get into the attacking third.
Yeah, so we got a question here. Abel, would you like to read it? And
Yeah, very good question actually, because something which we did discuss about as well in the earlier podcast. Did he satisfy both the coach? Did Van der Beek have a you know off the field tussle with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralph Ragnick? If you look about that, that's something which is very important to notice, because every coach gets impressed by a player on the training, right? And that's where I felt someone like Van de Beek might not have impressed both the coaches in the training field. It might be about how much he trains, how much of intensity he puts in, how much of work ethic he shows to the other teammates. And you should be a good player off the field as well. Most of the coaches do look into how your off the field performances before you're put on the field. Maybe whenever you're put on the field, you might be looking really good, but if your off the field training ethics is not good, if you're not able to satisfy the coach's requirements, then that sets a wrong narrative and wrong example for other players as well. So thereby you won't get a chance in the playing 11. That might be one of the reasons why Donny van de Beek was left out by both the managers, and it makes a strong case for it as well. Now let's see how he's used in Everton as well. If he is having the same issues, then you can say there's something really wrong with the player rather than blaming the management or the managers.
so let's talk about another transfer, which is Aubameyang to Barcelona. Like, is it good or is it bad? I don't know how to put these into words. Like how is it
Yeah.
going to affect Barcelona, and how can they move on forward with Aubameyang?
See, for Barcelona fans, they would be pretty happy with this transfer window if it just leave out who all they've signed, right? Look at their financial situation and the number of players they've signed. Alemani has done a terrific job as the board director, and the way in which he has been, dealing with the transfers, the money which they've been able to negotiate with other players with, it's been tremendous. Because if you look at Aubameyang's transfer, he's taken a wage cut. Adama Traore has taken a wage cut. Ferran Torres is a brilliant move. Then Danny Alves always brings an experience into the squad as well. Altogether, it's been a very good transfer window for Barcelona. But looking at the financial situation, looking at the way in which how they were at the starting of the summer and how they are right now. Now, talking about Aubameyang transfer, what Aubameyang can offer in for Barcelona, right? Aubameyang, we've seen with Arsenal, when he's given the open spaces, he can be as deadly as any striker on his day. And that's exactly what Aubameyang brings into the table for Barcelona. And if you look at Aubameyang's versatility, the character, he can play on the flanks, he can play right through the middle. And what Barcelona lack is a goal scorer who can pin in those balls. And that's something which Barcelona would have missed in the last 3-4 months, because they had Depay to injury and he was looking and totally out of form as well. Luke De Jong, yeah, you could say that he was trying to get back into form, but you're not looking him to be that proper number nine who's going to give you 15 to 20 goals a season. But if you look at Aubameyang's, stats of Aubameyang and what he's done with his previous clubs, Dortmund, Arsenal, he has always been able to. On his day, if you're giving him good balls into the attacking third in open spaces, he's as good a striker as anybody can get. And if Barcelona are going to deploy him in the through the center or through the middle, it's going to be brilliant for Barcelona. And if we can get Barcelona at least 10 goals this season, nothing like it. And if I have to talk about how Aubameyang is going to be used, I would like to see him being used through the middle, and maybe Adama Traore being a player who's going to come off the bench. He might start with Ferran Torres, because now with Ansu Fati being injured, I see Ferran Torres and Aubameyang starting for most of the games, and alongside probably they might bring in. It could be a double striker move as well. There could be two up front with Luke De Jong and Aubameyang on the right hand side and Ferran on the left. Because if you look at Aubameyang and Ferran, they both are equally good. They both are equally versatile in playing in both the flanks as well. So it could be an interesting attack looking ahead at Barcelona, especially if we have talked about Europa League, if we've talked about La Liga, they've got enough potential to do well in the league and also in Europa League, I would say, with this attack. But only concern for me would be the defensive transitions and the defensive holes, which looks like a major issue which needs to be filled. I believe by the summer, maybe Barcelona can bring in some defenders as well and fill those holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightfully so. Dembele and Oba can be very dangerous as well, because right now Dembele's situation looks very dicey, but Barcelona would want to play him, because if you look at that game which Dembele played against Real Madrid, he was totally on top of his game. It was one of the best games I've seen of Dembele in Barcelona's Barcelona shirt, and it just looked like he was just peaking at that right time. And if you give him confidence, you never know. He might even renew the contract at the end of the season. It's about how you maintain the relationship with the player, right? If you're going to treat him ill, he's definitely going to leave the club. But if you're going to give him that confidence and say, okay, you got 6 months, give us whatever you can in the 6 months, and then you never know. Dembele, Oba, and Ferran, it looks like a very good team on the paper. And alongside Pedri, Gavi, Nico, and Sergio Busquets and De Jong, oh man, the depth is really good. Now you're seeing like a Barcelona squad, which looks potent enough to win matches against any top clubs in Europe. And if they can convert those names into really good work, I'm sure that this Barcelona side can finish their season off pretty well. Qualifying for Champions League will be their primary goal, and also do well in Europa League.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Tottenham, they have actually bagged the Juventus duo of Kulusevski and Bentancur. How good is it for Tottenham to bag in these two people from Juventus?
See, for Tottenham, it was initially about getting rid of few players. They got rid of Ndombele, Dele Alli, Brian Hill. If you look at these three players, they are definitely not part of Antonio Conte's future as well, or Antonio Conte's plans. When the kind of style of game which Antonio Conte has displayed, he likes to play with three at the back and four midfielders, and he's very he's very keen on using two strikers up front with wing backs as well. That's one of the reasons why Antonio Conte wanted someone like Adama Traore, like how he used Victor Moses with Chelsea. He wanted Adama Traore to be a similar kind of player. He might not have gotten Adama Traore, but if you look at Bentancur, Kulusevski, they both have done well for Juventus, and they have this connection with Antonio Conte as well. Antonio Conte has managed them. He believes that these both can be very pivotal in midfield for Tottenham. But I'm quite surprised with the way how he has let go of Brian Hill. He could have been a potential player who could have done really well, and but that's something which needs to be looked into as well. I've got a comment saying that innocent under parole guilty, but people need to stop until they know the facts. Yeah, makes sense. Definitely, we did discuss about it, but if you look at the facts and if you look at the circumstantial evidence, everything looks against Mason Greenwood, as we did discuss. But only ray of hope for him is innocent until proven guilty. That's a legal principle which everybody follows. That's a principle of justice as well. But if you look at the circumstantial evidence, if you look at his voice recordings, everything seems to be against him. And if he is, but all what I would say is that social media shouldn't do a media trial on him. Let court do the trial on him rather than social media, going against the lad. Whatever he's done, he's got enough over the last 3 days or 4 days. We're not here to defend him at all. But media trial is something which I am totally against, or no, nor should we even promote such things. So I'll take that comment because it makes a lot of sense in this day and age. After all, he's a 20-year-old. But I'm not saying that 20-year-old should be treated any lesser than probably a 30-year-old or 25-year-old. But look, I think the way the media is going against his family, against his friends, everybody, it's not nice at all, because media is no one to judge the case, or media is not the ones who are investigating. Whatever has been presented in the circumstantial evidence which has been put out in the media, that's what social media has been reacting upon. But let's hope, and let's see whatever the investigation goes through. If they find something wrong, then definitely, it's tough luck for him, and we're not going to support such a player in footballing fraternity or sports fraternity, because we don't want such human beings to play the sport, right? The sport needs to remain clean, and sport needs to set good examples for future generations as well. So such a player being inducted back after even proven guilty, it won't look nice. Once he's proven guilty, definitely his career is gone. See, a good thought about it. If he can play, it all depends. If he has won, he does. If he wins this case, he totally deserves to come back, right? I've seen a lot of players who have been involved in allegations, who have been wrongly involved in allegations as well. They've had a tough time, especially to come back and to really get that name. Now, if you talk about, I'll just take an example about cricket. I know how much of you know cricket. There was a player called Sri Shant. He was arrested for match fixing after he was proven innocent, but the image around him is still bad. People are not ready to accept the player he is. The reason it is because of the media trials, because of the perception people creates. It just affects the player and just tarnishes the image. Right now, Nike has suspended him. They would definitely not want to keep him in their brand. Maybe Manchester United will definitely terminate the contract because fans will start booing him. We have seen that, right? Fans would not want a player representing their club who has been involved in such a thing. Though he might have won, that this 3 days has left a lot of impact on the fans and also on the larger picture of the footballing community, that he is an assaulter, he's an offender, and that does not set good narrative at all. So let's wait for the investigation and what the court decides, and I hope he gets to play if he has won the case, because then it's only right for him.
Uh, I don't know what does he mean by that's true, but yeah, okay. And
He's asking you, what do you think about this situation?
on Mason Greenwood, obviously it's innocent until proven guilty. That is his ray of hope, as you said, and because all the evidence is going against him right now, and we have seen many fake allegations as well. Like you've seen the issue of Johnny Depp against his wife, I guess, that
Yeah.
she was called as his a wife beater. I don't know from the court, I guess, and actually people were actually with him because they knew the truth, and hopefully this case also comes out truly, and people get justice from it. Let's not
Yeah,
go
we're looking
buying.
at justice ultimately. We're not looking at anything else. We won't take any sides. If it is Mason Greenwood, it's good for him. If it comes in his girlfriend's favor, it is good for her. But I hope justice prevails and the truth has been proven, because being a law student, I would say that all the legal principles and all the investigation should be done in a proper way, because, or else, you know, people's belief towards justice system also fails. Right now, you should be treated not as a footballer, but as a human being who has committed an offense, a criminal offense against his girlfriend, and he's allegedly committed this offense. I won't say he's committed it. As long as he's not proven guilty, he's allegedly committed it. So let's wait for the investigation and for how the court decides on this matter.
Yeah, let's not get further into that, and let's move on. So then let's talk about a few other transfers which has happened yesterday. Actually, a few transfers which happened. We saw, we saw Everton bagging a few people. We saw Tottenham bagging a few. And do you think Barca is still missing the defense line that they want to? Like, you see, PK is still there. And do you think they
Yeah.
can actually win a tournament with PK in the defense line right now? Right now, because PK is not just really good. Yeah, Joyce and Crystal, as he has mentioned it before. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about Barcelona's defense line.
Yeah, definitely. Something which Barcelona has been suffering through is their defense line for a very long period of time now. And I have mentioned in the previous podcast as well, in the Barcelona's podcast, as to what is the future ahead for Barcelona. It is definitely investing in these defenders. It could be bringing in an experienced defender, but if you look at investing in a young defender, historically or in European clubs, top class European clubs, they always have that experienced defender who plays in the back line. Then he can probably guide the youngsters. But if you look at PK, he definitely has the experience, but then considering his age, considering the intensity of European football currently, their defense is shaky. And probably in summer, one of their top priorities should be to invest in a centre back and also on a left back. They would definitely like to get someone like Tagliafico on board alongside probably a good central defender from anywhere. And if these two things are ticked about, probably next season will be where they will be hunting for trophies and to probably clinch a couple of titles at least.
Yep, and I guess that will be it for today. Actually, there's not much of topics to talk about, and we
Yeah.
thank you, R7. Thank you, R7. So there's not much
Yeah.
much to
Thank
talk
you,
about. We
sir.
were actually talking about Rafa winning his 21st Grand Slam and this Mason Greenwood issue, and hopefully we're talking about
I think we should talk about before we end on some surprising transfers. Who do you think had the best transfer window?
a lot of teams were really good, but I would say with the current situation, I guess from which league you can talk about it.
Let's talk about Europe, just Europe in general. Which team had the best transfer?
To be honest,
In my
it's
opinion,
not
Newcastle had
Barcelona
a very
because
good transfer window.
I didn't
Newcastle
get
United,
you.
Newcastle United had a very good transfer window, in my opinion, because they signed some really good players. If you look at the way how they utilize this transfer window from January 1st to 31st, they had the best transfer window, in my opinion. Alongside it, I would rate Barca at number two, but still, I won't give them a complete win in the transfer window just because they did not sign what they wanted. If they were assigned two defenders and two attackers, it would have been great. But you know that's where they probably falls behind. And I'm quite impressed with Juventus as well. Zakaria for 5 million, definite steal.
Yeah, and
Zakaria
Vlahovic
for
for
5 million is a definite steal. He's a prolific defensive midfielder. If you have looked at how he has performed for Switzerland, the kind of impact he's got, and at 5 million, he's a steal deal. And I believe that now they've gotten rid of Ramsey, they've gotten rid of Kulvelski, Bentancur. So there's a huge hole in Juventus in that sense. And Vlahovic as well, as we discussed before. Vlahovic signing was great for Juventus. So all in all, I feel Juventus had a terrific transfer window. And one of the players I loved, one of the players who's Liverpool signed, Luis Diaz, he was a terrific signing in my opinion because if you watch the Copa America, he was spinning in goals for fun, and the kind of impact he has in the front line, I believe he's going to be a good backup striker to Firmino, and he can be invested upon. And he's as good as anybody in Europe, or he's as good a striker with that support from Mane and Salah, and with his midfield. I believe that Luis Diaz can pin in goals as well. If he's going to be a crucial player to watch out for. If you're going to watch out for a player, I believe Luis Diaz is as good a player.
yeah, and now we can say Liverpool fans know how to react to a transfer
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
after how long they're getting a transfer actually coming into the club.
But
And
I'm
they were
quite
trying
surprised that
another player, Fabio Carvalho.
they might they. It's almost time that they're looking at. They should look at transition as well. Now Salah is 30, Mane is 30, Firmino is also around the same age, and I'm not saying that in football after 30 it's not FIFA, right? Your potential decreases or something, but what we've seen is you need to build a backup squad which can probably have probably have the depth, and probably have the transition. Probably 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, you have a squad ready. Maybe you can start investing now itself. One of the biggest tests for Liverpool was during the AFCON period as to how much they can get out of their players when Salah and Mane were missing. So as of now, they've done pretty well. They've not done too bad at all. The biggest test for them was with how they were going to react without or play without these two players, and they've done pretty well so far. And I'm quite impressed with the way how Liverpool has gone ahead. And now he also signed a good striking option in Luis Diaz, and Jota is a good player. He's done really well this season. Minamino, he's been on shaky ground so far. He's not yet proven the kind of player he was in Salzburg. I believe that's what English Premier League is, right? The intensity of the league is totally different when you compare it with any other league in the world. So I believe so far Liverpool will have a lot of holes to fill, especially in midfield and also going into the defense as well. Last season, why they weren't able to do well was just because Van Dijk was injured. Now they might have to sign a signing who's as good as Van Dijk in the back line. Probably, if you're looking at the worst case scenario, what if Van Dijk gets injured again in the start of the next season? Or what if Van Dijk gets injured during this season in the Champions League clash? What happens to them? Do their hopes go downsliding? So they might have to prevent that. That's why they might have to look at a center defensive signing maybe at the start of the next summer.
Yep, true. And I guess that will be it for today. And we've covered mostly all the topics, as I mentioned before itself. Rafa
Yeah.
winning his 20th Grand
So
Slam
guys,
and
subscribe to our
making
channel
great
as
decision.
well. We'll take
Yep,
all your questions, and some really good questions today, some really insightful questions. So let's hope that we continue and we keep engaging you people with more content, more podcasts. We'll cover all the sport. We will not stick to maybe one or two sports. We'll try to cover almost all the sports which we could, and we'll get in more people as well. Some exciting people across sports. One of the We're gonna have a special guest very soon. I'm not going to reveal his name, but you'll see it. He's got a lot of fan following if you look at social media platforms. So he'll be on our show very soon. So stay tuned for that and take care all.
yep. Thank you all.